Hi everyone, today we're going to revisit the definitions that support the concepts of points, lines, and planes. The first definition I'd like to focus on is a point. A point is a location in space. It's important to remember that it has no size. When we label a point, we want to do it with a capital letter. In this example, I have the capital letter P. Next, let's take a look at a line. A line is an infinite number of points that extends in opposite directions. It's important to note that a line extends forever and has no end. We can use a lowercase letter to denote a line or 2 points with a line above them, as shown here. Now, let's take a look at a plane. A plane is a flat surface containing an infinite number of lines. It's important to remember that a plane has no thickness. We can label a plane using 3 capital letters that are 3 non-collinear points on the plane, or a cursive letter. Now let's discuss the concept of intersection. As shown here, intersecting lines have 1 point in common. However, if 2 planes were to intersect, they would intersect at a line, as shown here. Let's move over now and discuss the ideas of collinear and coplanar. Collinear refers to lying on the same line, while coplanar refers to lying on the same plane. So if 2 points are collinear, they are on the same line. If 2 lines are coplanar, they are on the same plane. Let's explore some examples. Here, I'm identifying a point M. I'm also identifying a line segment, PQ. Now notice it's a line segment, not a line, because it has 2 endpoints. And here we have plane N. Remember, you can label a plane using a cursive letter, or if you have 3 points that are non-collinear on that plane, you could also call that plane by those points. Lastly, I have a sketch of B and C, which are collinear points, and then I have line AC, which is non-coplanar with MN. Now, answers may vary, but this is one example of how you could illustrate this statement. Let's take a look at segments and rays, which are actually parts of lines. A segment is a part of a line that has 2 endpoints. For notation, we want to have 2 points with a line segment above it. A ray is a part of a line with 1 endpoint. You can think of it as a line with direction. For notation, we'd like to use 2 points with a ray above it. Direction matters. If the line is going from X to Y, that must be indicated in the notation. The last type of lines that we're going to focus on for today are parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines are on the same plane, but they do not intersect. When we want to represent 2 parallel lines using notation, we first use the notation for 2 separate lines, and in between those, we label it with a small parallel symbol. Perpendicular lines intersect at 90 degrees. Their notation looks like a small perpendicular angle. We also want to do this between the 2 lines that we're referencing. When looking at an image, we often are able to tell if the lines are perpendicular if there is a small square label at the corner of the intersection, as shown here. Now let's take a look at some examples using the notation for parallel and perpendicular lines. Here we have a cube, and we're going to use that to show 2 line segments that are parallel to each other and 2 line segments that are perpendicular to each other. As you can see, DJ is parallel to FG, and HG is perpendicular to GF. Let's put it all together and talk about all the notation we've talked about this far. Here you can see I have a plane that has 3 points on it, points X, Y, and Z. So I was able to label that plane X, Y, Z. On the left-hand side here, I have ray EF. Notice that direction matters. The ray is starting at point E, that's the end point of the ray, and it's headed towards point F and extends beyond that. So for notation, I started with E, and the second letter I used was F, and above the EF, I have a ray showing the same direction as shown on the image. On the right-hand side, I have point A, and I also have point P. Below that, we have line segment MN. Notice it has 2 endpoints, therefore it is a line segment and not a line. That wraps up our recap on points, lines, and planes. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.